Hi beautiful people, welcome once again to another interesting tutorial. It's your girl here, OJ. If you are new here, you are seeing my video for the first time, please like and subscribe. On this channel we show you styles, inspirations. We also do DIY too on this style. And today's video is all about this beautiful gorgeous dress. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. We'll be starting with the front pattern, right? So this will serve as my shoulder line. The length of this gown, as you see on the picture, you should have between from the shoulder to the length. You can make use of 35 or you make use of your desired length because it's above the knee, so you can do with 35. So the pattern that I have here, total length I have here of this brown paper here, I have 30 inches, 30 inches, right? Then if I'm cutting it on my fabric, I'll add 5 inches to that to complete my desired length. Then I will now add like 2 inches to hem it at the damper. So that is total of, I will add 7 inches to this, right? So now I'm just going to make use of with this pattern here. So this will serve as the shoulder line here. So the first thing I'm going to do, though you don't need this yoke area side, but I'm just going to draft my normal basic pattern. So I will mark my neck width of 3 inches. I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2, which is 7.5 inches. I'll come down for vertical measurement. From shoulder to chest is 8 inches. Shoulder to bust is 10 inches. Shoulder to under bust is 14. Shoulder to waist is 16. Then shoulder to hip is 24 inches, right? Then my desired length is 35 inches. So that means I'm cutting it on my fabric. I will be adding inches to this. I'll add 5 inches, then plus 2 inches to hem it at the damper. That's 7 inches. I'll add 7 inches to this when I'm cutting it on my fabric, right? So now I'll make this into a straight line. So this is our chest line. That's the chest line. This is the bust line. This is the under bust line. This is the waist line. This is the hip line. And this is our hem line. Hope that is clear. So now I'm going to come to this upper part here. I'll be coming down 1 inch for my slope. I'll connect it to my neck width this way. Then I'll be connecting this to my chest. So that means on this chest here, I have my shoulder divided by 2 here to 7.5 inches, right? Then I'll mark the midpoint from the slope to my chest. This is the midpoint. Now from there I'll come in 1/2 inch. I'll be connecting my armhole here. So you can use this pattern too for if you want to add yoke to it. Now you can also use this pattern. So I will just do as if I'm creating the yoke too here, right? So now the neck width, I'll just make use of 3 inches. So this will serve for my neck depth, right? Assuming I'm using the yoke, right? For this, but I'm not using the yoke. So now the next thing I'm going to do, I will take from my under bust, from my bust to my under bust, the measurement I have here is 4 inches. And that's what I'm going to use to extend this for my off shoulder. That's what I'm going to determine for my off shoulder. So with this now, it's going to cover the full bust. But as you see in this style, you see that the bust is a bit revealing, is revealing at the chest area. So that means whatever thing you have from your bust to your under bust, you divide it by 2, right? So you mark half of it here. In that way, you have a little open here. Your bust will show a little bit here. But if you are the type that does not like your bust to show, then you can now mark exactly what you have from here, from your bust line to your under bust. You mark it up this way. But if you want your bust to show, as I've explained, you mark half of it. Hope that is clear. So for me, I don't want it to show. So I'll make use of the 4 inches here. So I'll connect it. So if I now measure it from the shoulder down, what I have here is 6 inches. So what I have here is 6 inches, right? So that means I'm coming down from my off shoulder 6 inches. So assuming you are not cutting the yoke at the same time, that means when you place your tape rule, you place it 6 inches away to get all your measurements. That's some method. You don't need this upper part here. You just place your tape rule from this upper part here 6 inches away and begin to mark your bust, your under bust, your waist, right? So I'm just illustrate this for a beginner. So that means that's why I'm adding the yoke part to it. So now hope you understand how this line is. So just measure your bust to your under bust. And if you want your bust to open, mark half of it. If you don't want your bust to open, like you want your bust to be fully covered, then you mark exactly what you have here, just like I've done here. Hope that is clear. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I'll mark it here this way. So this line that I have here now, I will also have it at my bust area. I will have it at the hem line, right? That's the length of my gown. I also have it there. So I'll be connecting it with my straight ruler. I'll connect it from my bust. Take note, from the bust, right? I'll connect it straight to the hemline this way. Hope that is clear. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to mark. I'll get the midpoint of my slope here. So the midpoint, this is 4.5 inches. Then I'll mark the midpoint of 2.25. So I'll use a straight ruler to connect it from that line to the dart apex this way. Hope that is clear. So now we now have the line now on this off shoulder area here, right? So let me just label this as SL, the off shoulder line, right? Then the dart intake, I'll come to the waist first. I'll be marking. I'll use 1.5 inches for my dart intake. Remember, we have explained this in other of my tutorials on this channel, how to calculate for your dart intake, right? So for a bust size of 38 inches, I'm going to make use of 1.5 inches for dart intake. So now I will share that into two. That means 0.75 on both sides, right? So I'll come to the under bust. This is our waistline. That's where I mark the 1.5 inches. At the under bust here, I'm going to tighten the under bust to have the bust firm and fitted, right? So now at this under bust here, I will come in the 0.75, then I will go out 1.5 inches. So the total dart intake at the under bust here, I have 2.25. At my bust area here, I'll come down 0.5 inch, then I'll go up 0.5 inch. Hope that is clear. So let's connect this line first. I'll connect this with a straight line down this way. I'll connect this too. Then I'll turn my curve ruler this way. I'll place my curve ruler this way, right? Then I'll be connecting this 0.5 inch that we came down to the under bust with my curve ruler this way. Hope that is clear. I'll turn it to this other side too. Also connect this. So this is what we have now. Then I'll come to this off shoulder line here. I'll be using the same measurement I have here. The 1.5 inches that I have here, I'm also going to use it here as well to contour this area here. That is now the new neckline, right? Because this is an off shoulder gown. So now I'm going to share it into two, right? That's 0.75 on both sides. Then I'll use my curve ruler to connect this way. I'll be connecting it to this 0.5 inch too this way. So connect it this way. Then I'll also connect this way as well to the 0.5 inch. So this area here, your bust area, is not meant to be curved, right? It's just straight so that it does not give you a funny shape at the bust area. So just smooth this. If you have any sharp edge, just smooth it up. Hope that is clear. So now I'll be connecting this now. So let's finish this upper part here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect this. I'll use this part of my curve ruler here to connect it to the armhole area. So I'll place my curve ruler this way. Then I'll blend it to the curve this way. Hope that is clear. Then this other side here, I'll measure what I have, because I don't want it to be lower than what I have here. So I will measure what I have from this area here. I'll follow the curve this way, measure it this way to what I have here. Here I have 4.5 inches. Then I'll measure what I have from here to I have 4 inches. So that means this one I'm going to extend it, right? So to have 4.5 inches. So this is where it is. Then I'll blend it this way. Then I'll take it up this way. Hope that is clear. So this is what we have now. Now from the waist, I'll come down 5 inches. That is where the dart is going to stop, 5 inches. Then I'll connect it straight down this way. That means we are having that at the skirt area, right? But this is going to cut off, right? We are cutting this off. We are also cutting this part too off. So now this is all you need for this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the horizontal measurement, right? So now I will come to the chest here. The bust circumference divided by 4 is 9.25. I'll mark it here. Then my side seam allowance of 1.5 inches. Take note, I'm not replacing any dart, right? There's a dart passing through the chest, but I'm not replacing that. It's just that is to tighten the bust area. So leave it. Then I'll come to the waist. My waist circumference divided by 4 is 7.75. Then the dart it take is 1.5. We'll replace it. Then our side seam allowance of 1.5 inches, we'll replace it. Then I'll block. So now, because of the way the shape is now, I'm going to turn my curve ruler this way to block. So I'm not using the straight part of my ruler, but I'm using the curved part of my, but I turn it this way, right? Hope that is clear. So just follow it this way. But if you don't have this, don't worry, you can still go with this. The difference is just a little inches. That's not bad. So you can still follow the straight ruler, but this is give it a smooth finished look, right? So now at the bust area, I'm going to come down for my side dart to contour the bust area, right? So whatever thing I'm coming down here, that's what I'm going to use to shorten the back panel. I've always explained this on this channel. So I'm going to come down 1.25. I'll connect it to the dart apex this way. That's my bust area this way. Hope that is clear. So now to do the hip area here. So for the exaggerated hip area, that's to make that pointed hip area. So that's what I'm going to do here now, because we are drafting the pattern together, both the hip, the down part together, right? So now on my hip line here, I'm going to mark my hip circumference divided by 4, which is 10.25. I'll mark it here. Then I'll be side seam allowance of 1.5 inches. Then I will extend it by 2.5 inches, which is here. This 2.5 inches is what will give us that shape that you are seeing at the side, right? Then whatever thing I have here, I will extend it to the hemline, the length. Remember I said I'm going to add 5 inches to complete my length here, right? So if you have your paper long enough to accommodate your length, that's where you take this measurement to. So whatever thing I have here, I'm going to place it here. Then I will follow a straight line down this way. I'll place my ruler this way, follow a straight line this way. Then I'll be connecting this to the waist area this way. Hope that is clear. So after connecting this, I don't want this place to be sharp, right? So I will just use this curve area here to smooth this up. So now I'll place this way. Then I'll be covering it this way. Hope that is clear. So this is what we have for our pattern for the front. So this is ready now. I'm going to keep this aside. Then I'll move over to the back panel. So now I'll be using this for the back panel. So we'll use this to drag for the back panel. Then I'll be marking for the zip. So I'll make use of 1 inch here. So this is for our zip, right? This is for our zip seam allowance. So now from the shoulder, I'll come down for my bust. My bust is 10 inches, the same way we mark for the front, right? Shoulder to chest is 8 inches, shoulder to bust is 10 inches. Then shoulder to waist, remember for the front we make use of 16 inches, right? Then we remove 1.25 for the side dart, the bust dart. So whatever thing we use for the bust dart, that's what I'm going to use to shorten this for the back panel. So now instead of the 16 inches, I'm going to make use of 14.75. That means we have removed 1.25 away from this. Then from there, I will come down for my hip. So my hip is 8 inches. That's, you can now check it, cross check it on the pattern here. That's why I've not cut the front one. So from the waist to the hip here, I have 8 inches, right? Then to the length of what I have here is 13.75, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to mark here. From the waist to the hip is 8 inches. Then to the length is 13.75. I'll mark it here this way. So this is it. So I'll make this a straight line. So let's label it too. This is our chest line, this is our bust line, and this is the waist line. So we don't have under bust line here because this is for the back, right? Then this is our hip line, then this is the hem line. So HL. So now what the excess I'm having here is the 1.25 that we make use for the front, that we remove for the bust start, right? So now the next thing I'm going to do is to contour the back, shaping the back so that the zip will relax firmly, right? So now here I have 1 inch for my zip seam allowance. I'm going to remove half inch away from that. Then I'll replace it back this way. Then I'm going to connect it straight up. Then I'll be connecting this to somewhere around this area here. So I can just measure it 5 inches down and also connect this to this part this way. So this is going off, this part here like this is going off, right? So this will now become our zip seam allowance. So this area here this way will be the zip seam allowance. So in that way you are shaping the back this way to allow your zip to relax so that the back will not be puffing up, right? The next measurement I'm going to get is to come to this shoulder here, this neck area here, our guideline. I will mark the neck width of 3 inches, the standard neck width that we use for the front. We don't need yoke for this type, but I'm just assuming for beginners, right? Then I'll mark the shoulder divided by 2. Then on my chest line too, also mark it 2. Shoulder divided by 2. All our measurement is going to be starting from this new line, right? Then I'll use my straight ruler to connect it this way. So in order to have my armhole curve, I'll be coming down for my slope this way. Then I'll mark the midpoint from the slope to the chest. I'll mark the midpoint. Then I'll come in half inch. And I'll be connecting it this way. So I'll connect this first. Then I'll connect this to the chest this way. So that's what we have here. I can blend it up this way. So let us assume that you want to make use of the yoke, right? So this is for the slope and you come down for your neck depth this way. Hope that is clear. So now the same thing that we did for the front to get our off shoulder measurement, right? So for the back, the front is a bit higher than the back, right? The back is lower, right? So remember when we came down, we measure from the bust to from our bust to our under bust this way, right? 4 inches. Then that's what we make use of, 4 inches. For this, I'm going to make use of instead of making use of the 4 inches, I will do 3 inches instead, right? So I'll just make use of 3 inches. So for you, whatever thing you came down here and you find out that you want your bust to review, so you now make use of half of it here. Make sure that you remove 1 inch away from whatever thing you use for your front, for your off shoulder. Remove 1 inch away from that. Hope that is clear. So that's what I've done here. I remove 1 inch away from my off shoulder measurement that I make use of. So for the front, I make use of, I came down 6 inches. For the back here, I came down 7 inches. So I make use of 7 inches. And that's what we have here, 7 inches. So now I'm going to be marking for my dart intake. So I will mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, starting from this line. Remember, this is now our new zip line, right? So our measurement is starting from this line here. So I'll mark it here. My nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is what I have here. So I'll be connecting it to from this line here, from the off shoulder line. That's where I'm going to place the connection to the hem line. So I'll use a straight ruler to connect it this way. Hope that is clear. So just pay attention to this dart intake that I'm going to do here. Remember, you are not going to put on a bra with this dress, so you really need to do this. You need to pay attention to, so that your dress will be very firm. So what I will do here is that I'll mark that intake of 1.5 inches here. So I'll share it on both sides, right? But when I want to replace this at the waist area, I'll make use of 1 inch. Hope that is clear. I mark 1.5 inches that intake. When I want to replace it at the side, I will replace with 1 inch. Then I'll come to this upper part here. I'll remove 1/2 inch. So I'll share that on both sides, right? So the 1/2 inch, I'm just going to share it on both sides this way. 0.25, 0.25. I'll come to the hemline here. I'll also remove 1/2 inch, 0.7, 0.25, 0.25. Hope that is clear. So the total of 1/2 inch, that's what I remove here. So now I'm going to mark this. So I'll come down 6 inches at the waist area here. So from the waist, I measure down 6 inches here. Then from there too, I'm going to mark 0.25 on both sides. That's 1/2 inch in total. Hope that is clear. So now this is how I'm going to connect my dart. I'm going to connect this now up this way. I'll connect it to this 1/2 inch we are removing here. I'll also connect this waist on to this 1/2 inch we are removing here. Then instead of connecting this straight to the hem, I'm connecting it to these 6 inches that we came down. Hope that is clear. So I'll connect it this way. I'll connect it this way. Then I'll now extend this straight down. So this is what we have. So the dart intake at the waist area is much, but at the side, at the hip area here is small. That's 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. I'm not going to replace this. I'm only replacing with 1 inch at the waist area here. Hope that is clear. So now we'll mark for the horizontal measurement now. The round circumference, right? The circumference measurement. So now my measurement is also starting from this line here. On the chest here, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, which is 9.25. I'll mark it here. Then my size seam allowance of 1.5 inches, I'll mark it here. I'm not replacing any dart here. Hope that is clear. So I'll come to the waist. The waist circumference divided by 4, which is 7.75. I'll mark it here. The dart intake that we make use of here is 1.5 inches. I'll replace with 1 inch. I want the back to be snatched, right? I want it to be very firm. Then I'll add my size seam allowance of 1.5 inches. I'll come to the hip. The hip circumference divided by 4 is 10.25. I'll mark it here. Then I'll add my size seam allowance of 1.5 inches. Then I will extend with 2.5 inches, right? Remember, for the hip sharp, for the exaggerated hip, 2.5 inches. So the same, whatever thing I have here on the hip area here, I'll measure it. That's what I'm going to connect here, right? I'll mark it here this way. That's to the hemline, right? I'll use a straight ruler to connect it this way. I also use a stapler to connect it to my waist this way, the hip to the waist. Then I will smooth this area here so it does not look sharp. So place this covering part and the down part this way, so you smooth it up this way. Hope that is clear. So this is the line we are facing now, we are using now, right? Then I will place my ruler this way to connect the waist to my bust this way. So this is what we have for the back. So now you can either leave it this way or blend these two so that it will rhyme at the armhole area. So what I will do is that I'll bring out the front this way. From this chest here, I'll measure up what I have that I used to blend this area here. I'll measure what I have here, which is 0.2, 0.75. So now from this chest too, I'll also go up 0.75 this way, right? Then the same way too that we blend. Remember, this is how I place the front on to blend this area. That I used to blend this dart. This is how I place it, right? To blend this dart area. So I'm also going to place this way. Then blend it to this mark that we have here. So this is the line. So with this now, both for the front and the back at the armhole area, it will just rhyme on your armhole area and everything will be fitted. Hope that is clear. So this is all you need for this pattern. I'm going to cut this pattern out. So let's start with the back. So this is the pattern for the back, right? So now when I'm cutting this on my fabric, I'll add half inch here, add half inch here. I'll cut two of this, right, to join this back together. So I'll place my fabric into two. Then I'll be cutting this is for our zip, right? This is where our zip measurement is going to take from, the 1 inch that we add for the zip seam allowance. This is where it's going to be taken away from. Then I'll add half inch here, add half inch here to join this together. So this is the dark line, right? We've already add our size seam allowance. I'll also add half inch at this upper part here, right, to use my lining to turn it at the upper part here. Hope that is clear. So let's cut the front. So don't forget to close your bust dart. So to do that, you can just cut this out this way. And be closing the bust dart this way. So by the time you close the dart this way, you have some shortage here. You blend it up. Use your ruler to blend it up this way. And you continue your cutting. So we don't need the yoke area, right? So this is going up this way. So this is it for the front. So you can see how beautiful the pattern is. This is what we have for our front pattern. So now when I'm cutting this on my fabric, I'm going to cut this part here will be folded, right? So I'll fold my fabric into two this way. I'll place this part here on the folded area at the edge of the fold, right? Then I'll add half inch at this area here. I'll also add half inch at this up area here. Then this one too, I'm going to add half inch too on this area here this way to join this back, right? So I'm going to, you can pad this area here. If you even want it to be very firm, right, you can do bust caging at this area, at the bust area here, so that it will be very firm. But if not, you can pad it. Just use your wording on this area, just from your under bust this way, mark, go up 7 inches, then you just mark it, curve it this way, right? Then this area here from your under bust, you also go up 7 inches, or just come down half inch, right? Then you connect it straight this way. So that's all you need for this now. Every other places you've already add seam allowance, right? Just this upper part that you add half inch on this area here, you add half inch here, you add half inch on this part here, add half inch on this part to join this panel together. So that's all you need. So then for the down part here, you can iron stay. If you want it to really stand like it is on the picture, iron stay on this, on the down part here. So this is all we need. These are all our patterns, right? This is the pattern for the front, and this is the pattern for the back.
So
So
guys, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This is the sewing part. Thank you so much for watching the creation of this style. You can do well to go and recreate it for yourself. Share with me on my social media platform on your Artcom. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in my next one. Bye.